Okay, I think my microphone works now. I think so. It should. All right, now that's a little, there you go. That's a little better. Okay. Oh my God, the craziness. Oh my God. Oh my God. What's going on? This thing. Gotta work it on out. Well, let's just get to it. Hold on. Let me start this thing. Let's start the virtual camera. And then go to that thing. And 3. And 2. And I'll just hit this number. This thing. See, hey, there we go. Ah, look at that. We're working. Oh, boy. That was fun. So, it's always fun to crawl around under your desk before work. I think that's how most people should start their day. With, everything software-wise looking like it's actually working when it is absolutely not. It's a good time. I can't imagine how difficult it must be trying to caucus in this particular situation. And boy, do I mean caucus. Let me tell you. How many? Do we have any? Hold on. Chat room. Hi, there you are. Hi, chat room. We got any? I understand that a good portion of people are freezing their caucus off this morning in Iowa. -6 degrees, -12 with the wind chill. And again, I will make this case as I have done since I was a wee comedy tyke in Chicago, that once it reaches probably, I think the number is -2, but I don't know that it really matters. It's different for every person. Once it hits that number, every number below it is just fuck. There's no, like, nobody's standing there in -8 degree weather going, it feels like 9. Does that feel like 9? Is it just me? Like, I know it's 8. Like, I've been telling myself that it's 8 all day long. And yet, it sort of feels -9. Is it just me? Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to eating. Yeah, so Trump is being, grabbed by the caucus this evening, no question. Couple of stories. I mean, there's lots to talk about today. We'll get to it in just a moment, if I may. But let me open up a couple of. There you go, and then this one, and then yeah, and is it this? Yeah, okay, because there's so many of these fucking stories that I have to deal with all the time. Okay, so a couple of things. One is Trump apparently super nervous about the whole Iowa caucus thing. Apparently, Nikki Haley's on the march, and what he's concerned with is that if he doesn't clear 50%, if he gets 48% of the caucus, less than half, and I got news for you, even if he just hits 51%, something like that, dude, your support has been cut in half in the last 3 years. That ain't good. And none of the Nikki Haley and none of the half the Ron DeSantis. And I'm shorter today. Sorry, thank you. I had to move my camera to move some. Enoch Chuck. There, that's better. Thanks for I'm so busy doing a show, I didn't even look. I'll have to check in on all the other scenes. But yeah, so a couple things. And my hair is just so flyaway today. It's just, I couldn't do anything with it this morning. So there's a bunch of stuff. First of all, let me, I want to show you guys something, because this tickled me a bit. So you remember there was a period where it was becoming a running gag about Biden winning Arizona again. Like this kind of like, hey, guess what? Biden won Arizona for the 9th time this week. Remember that? I very distinctly remember us hitting the 9th time, and it was 9 times. And maybe it's a Ferris Bueller thing, but yeah. So the same thing is happening elsewhere. Trump apparently, in the election investigation, they were looking at votes lost, and it's even more fun because it set me down a rabbit hole Oh, it did it again. See, I've got to do this one. Hold on. In every scene, it's just sad. Nutchuck. All right. Oh, I know what I have to do. In this one, I actually have to expand it. Hello. There we go. How's that? Is that better? All right. Now, so another election. This is from Raw Story, but I think it was in NBC's Washington Bureau, whatever. Another election investigation has finally uncovered that there were missing votes in 2020, just not for Donald Trump. While the ex-president has maintained for years the 2020 election was stolen, NBC Washington reported the Prince William County Office of Elections revealed a week after prosecutors from the Virginia Attorney General's office dropped charges against the county's former registrar, Michelle White. The numbers wouldn't change any races, however. In the presidential race, the county mistakenly shorted Biden by 1,648 votes and over-reported Trump's count by 2,327 votes. The 3,975 vote error in the margin of victory was immaterial in a contest that Biden won by 450,000 votes in Virginia and more than 60,000 votes in Prince William County. That's right. So they gave 2,327 votes that Trump did not get. Let's be abundantly, they didn't count 1,648 Biden votes. So over 1,600 votes that Biden got, they didn't count. They were and then they just found them. And then after looking at the numbers, they realized that they had counted 2,327 votes for Trump that did not exist. They overcounted or double counted or whatever the fuck. I just love it. I just got to say, it gets funnier every time I read it. Now, why would that be? Why in the ever-loving shit would there be more Biden votes out there that weren't counted and Trump votes that were counted perhaps twice? Well, perhaps it points to the fact that Donald Trump told a lot of his supporters, including this fucking dude, that they were saying, I remember when Rudy Giuliani, we know dead people voted. Okay, first of all, no dead person has ever voted ever. I know it's splitting hairs, but can we stop saying shit like that? In the irony of all of it, the reality is that some of these motherfuckers took a ballot that wasn't theirs, or that was somebody that passed and they voted in their stead. Somebody voted as a dead person. Nobody ever, and by the way, you used to be able to pull that shit. Oh, that's right. I forgot to remind everybody because I was so busy doing a show. Like and subscribe. Hit the like button while we're started so people know we're out there. And Tara is going to be joining us. Tara Dublin Rocks will be joining us at the second hour. I'm in a very philosophical mood today, so just prepare yourself emotionally. There's a lot of shit going on. And we'll be talking about a bunch of it, no doubt. But this motherfucker, by the way, this is one of these guys who voted using the ballot of a dead person. Specifically, I think it was his mother. Yeah, no, his dead father. Sorry, I get them mixed up because there's so many of these assholes. So this is this guy, Robert River Eater. So okay, and guess where he's from? Florida. I'll give you. Hold on. I don't want you to be able to see. No, you can't see it over there. I don't want to. What area of Florida would you think this guy's from? What, Robert River Nider? What? There's like a little area. There you go. Betsy got it right out of the gate. Look at that. Florida man. Yeah. Robert Rivernider lives in the Villages, and he voted using his dead father's ballot. He's getting 6 months in jail, and I think a $5,000 fine, although the fine goes up to $17,000. But, we have a two-tier justice system in this country, so there's no way that a Trump voter in Florida is going to get they're going to get off with a slap on the wrist. If you're a black lady who believes that because she's been paroled, she actually has her right to vote back, and she just got the date wrong, 5 years, $20,000 fine, shit like that. Meanwhile, if you live in the villages, 6 months, and I think it's at the Epstein Memorial Jail where you get your own key. So it's sort of like a Motel 6. In the usual fashion, Trumpers overnight originally claimed his prosecution was political. Yeah. Hi, everyone. How many of you got your tickets for the Villagers for Trump Org dinner? 2000mules.com. Producer Dinesh D'Souza. That's right. He was there. He was posting in support of 2000 Mules. He was one of these guys going, we know there was voter fraud. How? We did it ourselves. Yeah, so that's pretty fucking hilarious. And I love I gotta say, chef's kiss. Does anybody notice what's particularly hilarious about this one? It's that part. This motherfucker voted using his dead father's ballot, and his thing says Junior. Boy, I gotta tell you. All right, now he wasn't alone. If you'll recall, this dude, right, Barry Morphew, who used his disappeared wife's, because the charges were dropped because of rules of evidence, because that's just how shit works. He's being charged for first-degree murder, but they haven't found her yet. So this motherfucker is Murdaughing his way around Colorado right now, getting all set up, I guess, to door knock for Lauren Boebert. God knows. Anyways, this motherfucker was charged with murdering his wife, and she disappeared. She hasn't been found. The judge threw the first-degree murder charges out because there was a technicality on rules of evidence. And so it's one of those things where they're going to go after him for conspiracy. Oh, they did find her? They found her? Where's she? Yeah. Because I'm just going off this new one. Yeah. Anyways, he used her ballot. And yeah, this is November 11th. This is an older version of it. So he used her ballot and voted on her behalf because that's what she would have wanted. I think she would have wanted to be alive. Yeah. It's that. So anyways, the dude, he's going to jail it's funny. They dropped the first degree murder charges, I think, because of the rules of evidence issue, but he is being charged for voting for mail fraud, and for forgery, and for first degree murder, but made public. Morphy told agents submitted Suzanne's ballot in her absence just because I wanted Trump to win. I just thought give him another vote. Adorable. Oh, and then what about this Nevada man who claims someone voted as his dead wife has been charged with voter fraud? Remember how we talked about, like, Trump tells that story about the lady in the hat? She loves voting, and she's like, darling, it's our time to go vote. We've got to go. She puts on her, like, Sunday best, and I'm making the story better than he makes it, but she puts on her lovely hats and goes down to do her civic duty, and she shows up and she goes, I would like to post my vote for Donald John Trump. And they go, someone's already voted in your stead. And she, dejected, walks out of the place swearing and shitting and throws her hat in the garbage and goes, fuck America, and wanders off. And someone at the table is going, why don't you call a cop? If it's fake, why don't you call? You should probably ma'am, if you didn't vote and someone voted in your stead, would you come back? Could you give evidence? Okay. Oh, you were trying to vote twice. I see. So this guy, Donald Kirk Hartle, 55-year-old Republican voter who publicly protested a 2020 ballot being cast in his dead wife's name, has been charged with voter fraud. The Nevada Republican Party and other conservative groups cited Hartle's claim as proof of widespread voter fraud. However, Nevada prosecutors now say that Hartle himself submitted the fraudulent ballot under his dead wife's name. In November 2020, Hartle told KLAS TV that he discovered that a ballot had been submitted in the 2020 election under the name of his deceased wife, Rosemary Hartle, who died in 2017 at age 52 from breast cancer. Rest her soul. Hartle told the news station that his wife's mail-in ballot never arrived at his house. Her name was, in fact, on a list of active voters. The signature on her ballot matched her signature on file in Clark County voting officials' records. So I would check, just in case, checks were maybe signed in her name. Her family should probably look into that. Just thinking, because the dude's clearly got her signature down. At the time, Hartle told him that that is pretty sickening to me, to be honest with you. It made no sense to me, but it lent some credence to what you've been hearing in the media about these possibilities. And now it makes me wonder, how pervasive is this? Yeah. Okay. Okay, asshat. Yeah. 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 Fucking. You tell us. You tell us how pervasive it is, because you did it. And I'll tell you what, here's the thing. And this is probably one of the scariest things for Donald Trump, both in the caucuses and then the primary that's coming up, is that it's not nearly pervasive enough, not only to not put him over the top, but increasingly, there are thousands upon thousands of double votes for Donald Trump. People voting twice on purpose, and they're getting caught on the regular. A lot of it, they shrug it off and they piss off, and that's that, because it's not even, he lost and it's not even worth looking into. But every time they look into it, every time they find somebody who voted twice and goes to jail for it, Trump voter, every single time. And I gotta say, and maybe it's just me, at the rate that Democrats would have had to double and triple vote and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my audio's, I don't think my audio is low. Is it? Is the audio okay? At the rate that Democrats are accused of, printing ballots and faking ballots and all kinds of whatever shit they're doing, the volume of it is so fucking extraordinary that it would take nothing to prove it. Nothing. Thanks, guys, for letting me know about the audio, because somebody was saying that I'm, yeah. So, and I just want to make sure, there's some things I cannot control in this silliness, and then there's some things I can, and sound is sometimes that one thing. Yeah, that's right. And Hinda points it out in our chat room that Donald told them to vote twice. He said, don't trust it. Don't trust the mail. Even though he put the fucking guy in that was the reason why people didn't trust the mail. And the reason he said don't trust the mail, by the way, is because that was part of the rig he thought he had in the bag. Now, it didn't end up being the case, and the mail was delivered because it's a federal crime not to, and I don't know how you... Again, how do you get so many fucking people in on a conspiracy of that magnitude? Seriously, imagine the conspiracy around, a standard one, like the moon landing or the fucking Kennedy assassination, where you had to involve postal workers and postal supervisors in every one of the 50 states. Basically anyone who works at an airport, like in ticketing, in on the guys with the cones, the pilots, like all those fuckers, everybody at an airport, and to hide this conspiracy, you had to involve what else? The entire population of Dallas. You see what I'm trying to say? Like it would be difficult. It would, just saying, it would probably shit the bed, the whole thing, right? But even still, as much as Louis DeJoy, yes, Louis DeJoy is still there. He's not been taken down. However, none of what he did actually had any fucking impact. And I think it feels like Trump was counting on it. Trump was counting on Louis DeJoy, like pulling machines, slowing the mail to help him create the red wave, now the Red Mirage. And the Red Mirage was going to be his way of skating past it's I would argue part of the conspiracy, for Jan 6 and to rig the election. But at the same time, sorry, there we go. Oh, thanks. Yeah, here's, thanks, CSL. You are awesome. Yeah.
600,000 people could vote by absentee in this state. Are you confident in that system?
Well, they'll go out and they'll vote, and they're going to have to go and check their vote by going to the poll and voting that way, because if it tabulates, then they won't be able to do that. So let them send it in and let them go vote. And if their system's as good as they say it is, then obviously they won't be able to vote. If it is,
there you go. And it was. A bunch of these motherfuckers, the lady in the hat, that's exactly it. That is, oh, fuck, I love you, Can't Stop Lying. That was it, like, way to just fly in there with it. That we should have that one on the ready too, I think, because that's going to be germane to the entire, like, election cycle this fucking time. This asshole, seriously, he's just telling them vote and then vote again. And they fucking did. Now, like, if this guy, I mean, these are all people, the people I looked up specifically. This is another guy, right, by the way. Man charged for voting as dead mother for Trump in third case of voter fraud in Pennsylvania. Every single time. Every single time. I don't know why, like, and here's one of the things. They often ask, like, we saw... Glenn Beck probably is the biggest example of people who are like, what are they afraid of? Why are Republicans in states like Georgia, and these are Republicans, why do they fear Donald Trump so much that they don't want to look at the voter situation? I'm like, I'll tell you why, motherfucker, because they knew it was his fault. These were his voters. If they looked too hard, every time they looked, they discovered more Biden votes. That's why. Because every time they looked, they were like, somebody's adding Trump votes, and this dude fucking murdered his wife and voted in her stead, and this dude, like, there's I want to say 4 or 6. I've lost count. I think it's 6, including this dude. 6 people in the villages who've been arrested for voting twice. That's right. And there are so many secondary measures on mail-in votes these days that it's really fucking hard. And the return on investment in terms of forging votes is so fucking low compared to what fucking happens to you. This dude's getting 6 months. This is a light sentence, but he's getting 6 months and $5,000 in jail for one vote. And somebody needs to find the factory of ballots that was cranking out, right? That they were cranking out. That somehow there was this, massive undertaking, this industrialized vote fraud system where everybody involved was like, with every sheet of paper was like, that's 5 years and 5,000. 5 years, 5,000, 5 years, me just touching this shit. 5 years of 5,000, 5 years of 5,000, 5 years of 5,000. You're going to, seriously, at a certain point, who are they using? Lifers? The only way this would make sense is if you were doing it in prisons already and paying these guys in smokes. Because who the fuck would endanger their very existence with that level? That's why when it happens in a primary and they shit the bed on it, like, everybody involved looks like is a sketchy mayoral candidate or some fucking alderman or something, and they're puffing votes by getting people to gather a group in a community that barely speaks English and get them to sign all their shit and send them in, and they always get busted. They didn't used to, probably in the 60s and earlier, 70s earlier, but now computers are a bitch. And this is, by the way, why this kind of, to me, answers the question, why the fuck does Mike Pillow want to get rid of the machines? Hand count, eyeball it. Because you get sycophants in there, and you get what happened here. This is the future. If they hadn't discovered this, this is the stacked future that Mike Pillow wants. He wants a bunch of maggots either like registering as Democrats in purple districts and sitting there going, I want to be an election judge as a Democrat or an independent, and sitting there and eyeballing things. The computer doesn't match the signatures. The computer doesn't match where the ballot was made. If it looks good to you, it goes in, and they're just looking at who it voted for. Oh yeah, that's a Trump vote. That's that. Of course, nobody would fake a fucking Trump vote. Oh, the Biden one, I put that in my 50-50 pile. That's what he wants. That's why they want the machines out of it. And the rest of us are kind of like, shouldn't I be able to vote on my phone? Right, where it's not quite there yet, but there's so much involved in it that you could we'll get there eventually, where your face is scanned by your phone, like for voting. The only way it could happen is if you're smiling and it tells you're alive, right? Anyways, yeah. So and the chat room, of course, is obviously Mike Pillow is fucked. Let's just be abundantly clear. But I got caught up in that shit today just because it was so fucking hilarious. Yeah, okay. There was another. So Bartman was the guy in Pennsylvania. In November, criminal charges were filed against Malvern resident Ralph Thurman after he attempted to vote twice. After casting his own vote, Thurman returned to the same polling place wearing sunglasses and made an attempt to vote in his son's name. Thurman's case is still pending, though it was not reported who Thurman voted for. He is a registered Republican and his son is a registered Democrat. So he tried to... This motherfucker... Let's see if I can bring this guy... yeah, I think it's in this one. Yeah, let's try to bring this up. That is so funny. They're all fucking Republicans. All the fucking... Look at this shit. Okay, so Bartman's illegal vote in the presidential was not the only one recorded by Pennsylvania authorities. In November, criminal charges were filed against Malvern, sometimes Malvern P. Red, Ralph Thurman, after he attempted to vote twice. After casting his own vote, Thurman returned to the same polling place wearing sunglasses and made an attempt to vote in his son's name. Thurman's case is still pending, though it was not reported who he voted for. He's registered Republican. His son is registered Democrat. So he tried to steal a Biden vote from his son and vote using his ballot. More than likely because he can't tell, because that's the thing. They're using that. Okay, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania man Robert Lynn was arraigned in October. Let me move that out of the way. After he filled out an absentee ballot application for his mother, who died 5 years ago. Lynn used a typewriter to complete the application. Election officials flagged the application, reported to authorities. Lynn was charged with forgery and interference of an election. Yeah, let's see. Stiff penalties. Yeah, all such incidents we are aware of have been referred appropriately to law enforcement. Penalties for conviction of these types of crimes are punishable up to 7 years imprisonment and $15,000 in fines. This is in Pennsylvania. Their rules there. Yeah, Malvern, PA. And then Trump lying about this. Pennsylvania certified it's okay. These are older stories, obviously, because they were happening in parallel to Rudy Giuliani selling this shit. Just fucking so on the nose every fucking time. So on top of that, let me go to this real quick. Couple of I guess major elements. Where do we even start? Okay, so this I thought was particularly funny, and I got to show you guys. So Trump has been barnstorming fucking Iowa, going, I'm the guy. I gave you billions of dollars. Nobody ever gave you 10 cents, and somebody remind me to talk about where Trump gets his 10 cents shit from, because I figured it out. I felt so fucking stupid that it didn't occur to me sooner. Okay. Did Trump or Biden deliver more for farmers? The answer might surprise you. Former president is using his record to appeal to Iowa voters. Farm income, however, rose under Biden. To hear former President Donald Trump tell it, America's farmers never had it so good. Look who get you $28 billion. Who else would get you $28 billion from China? The $28 billion Trump mentioned didn't actually come from China. However, it was paid out by the U.S. government to compensate farmers harmed by Trump's trade war with Beijing. Still, on the Comer scale, it's China money. Okay, so here's direct payments to farmers. This is the $26 billion in Trump's final year in office. These are direct payments to farmers. This is subsidies specifically because of both tariff and COVID. Okay? Trump gave them $26.3 billion. Biden, in his first year in office, continuing them, and then, of course, on top of that, with the Rescue Act, gave farmers 28.7. So in his first year in office, Biden gave more money to to farmers than Trump did in his last year in office. Trump's first year in office, he gave 14. In year 2, he raised it to just slightly over what Biden's is. Which again, look at the difference between these two. This is Biden year 1, Biden year 2. This is Trump year 1, Trump year 2, Trump year 3. This is Biden year 3. Now, part of the reason is they're making up for you don't need this, you don't need this, so it evens out over time, and it's also not all the receipts are in. So that's why there's not a complete number here. But still, in the biggest in one fell swoop, Biden stuffs him. Here's the other thing. One of the other reasons why this number is lower is because of this shit. This is net farm income under Trump. Effectively stagnant. There was a boost in year 2. Anybody's guess what that is? Could have been having to do with like swine flu in China, where they had to cull all their pigs, so they needed more pigs than usual, and so they had more pork sales, something shit like that. This is farm revenue, net farm income under Biden. $55 billion over what Trump made in his first year. Second year, $188 billion. Year 3, $151 billion. And by the way, adjusting it for inflation, that may be the case in but it'd still be net income. It wouldn't be revenue. It would be revenue, not profit. Let's just say, but still, like this margin, you can explain whatever a percentage difference. Let's say 8% cost difference because they are a source, and getting stuff to market. Oftentimes, that's where a lot of the subsidies went. And again, this is along with the subsidies. This is what they got, and they're being subsidized by the government. Just putting that out there. This is Biden net, and this again, net farm income. And by the way, as a standard, higher than like that business. Just no appreciable change. The only time Trump ever gave a fuck and changed anything about how much money farmers were going to make or whatever was when he shit the bed over his tariffs and had to supply them with a bunch of he had to basically buy their fucking votes with this dump of cash right here. That's why. Other than that, he didn't give a rat fuck. Was he ever talking about farmers? I think it didn't even. Trying to think of a time when he sat in one of the big tractor things or one of their wheat threshers or any of the harvesters or any of those kind of things. Mostly he getting the fucking Mack trucks and honk the horn or whatever. Was that a Peterbilt? It was a Mack, I think. Anyways, at no point did he give a rat's ass until everybody's like, fuck, the farmers are getting pissed because you're screwing them with your trade war and you've got no backup. Yeah. Ta-da! And those tallies don't include billions in other types of farm support, like crop insurance, loan financing, traditionally the largest types of ag subsidies. So this does not include the biggest part of the financial picture where the government helps farms. So, needless to say, fucking hilarious. Nobody ever. 10 cent. God damn it. All right. 10 cents. So Trump is constantly talking about this. And hold on. I'm going to try to bring up a page of this shit. 1 second. Let's see if I can find let me try to do this. I'll just do it here. Yeah, here you go. So, one of the biggest companies in the world, if not the biggest in the world, and again, to believe it is the biggest company in the world, you have to believe China's figures, which are horseshit. But let's just go with the fact that by volume, yes, it is, Guitar Dog. Well spotted. So one of the things that Trump did when he was pissed at China in August of 2020, Tencent is the Apple of China. Not quite. I would say they're more like the Microsoft of China, or even sort of the AWS, Amazon Web Services of China, because it's very sprawling. And never mind the fact that it's a government organization. Tencent, the entire. Let me be abundantly clear. I watched a couple of documentaries a few years ago on how Tencent started, and the story is remarkably similar to the social network, or how fucking Apple started in a garage and all that stuff. And let me tell you, one-to-one, person-to-person, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's bullshit. The guy didn't create it, like, as a bunch of scrappers working in a fucking office trying to catch it. No, they were assigned by the government and funded by the government to copy shit that was happening in the outside world and give Chinese people a version that they could use internally, that they could monitor and limit, so that people wouldn't use YouTube and Twitter and all that kind of shit. And it started with like ICQ, like internet, chat relay systems, whatever. It just fucking bullshit. And every time they talk about, like, there was this company that was doing this thing, and they went to buy them out, and like they were ahead of the game or whatever. And by the time they showed up, they ended up not buying the company and just having their own feature. By the time Tencent got around to buying up little companies, and IRC, thank you, for, and sort of incorporating them in that idea, they had already stolen the software. They had already copied it. And they used the back and forth about whether or not to buy it, and then the scuttling of it, to basically crash the company. It was fucking totally predatory, old school, like Microsoft Netscape shit, but on a much grander scale. Absolute horseshit. All right, now, like a totally fabricated government agency posing as a company, and just stealing shit everywhere. Now, Trump loved them the entire time he was in office, until COVID came, and after his deal was signed, which was ass, and they never, the Chinese government never lived up to it. They bought a third of the 30 billion they were supposed to buy, and they needed more. They just couldn't arrange to get it, and they got it cheaper from other sources, and they really don't give a fuck, and they had other fish to fry, blah, blah, blah. But they just blew it off. Like, they'll just buy it when they need it, and that's that. So, Trump issued, I don't know if you guys remember this, when he got mad in August because China was no longer covering his ass or something, he issued an executive order banning U.S. transactions with WeChat and TikTok for 45 days in August. For 45 days. For 45 days in August of 2020. 45 fucking days. 40. That was his big, to all the folks that are like, China hit us with a bioweapon and they released it on purpose and it wasn't a leak and it came from the lab and blah, blah, blah. Remember, like, all that bullshit? This was his big strike back. This is what he did. This was his big, I'll show you, China people. Yeah. An executive order banning U.S. transactions with WeChat and TikTok for 45 days. August 6th of 2020. Now, part of it was to, I have no doubt, was to elicit, I guess, a little bit more crisscross in terms of, like, voters who were on TikTok and WeChat, Chinese voters and Asian voters in the United States, to get them on the on the regular news feeds on Twitter and elsewhere, because TikTok wouldn't be available or some shit. Get them there. And we got Tara waiting in the background, and she's chilly because it's cold and everywhere right now. I'll bring her in just one minute, but I want to explain this to you guys because it's fucking spectacular. So Trump issues this ban on TikTok for 45 fucking days right before the election as a big, like, enough of a wag where his dipshit voters will see all of it except this part in 45 days. Yeah, this part. Like, you can do it right up to the election, right? And by the way, it didn't last. It never actually went into effect. So 45 days from this date, we're gonna stop transactions with China and with you can't do any transactions with WeChat and TikTok. Okay, here's the big question. What's a transaction? Because in China, everybody pays for fucking everything with WeChat. Oh, there's a kitty waiting in the background too. Everybody pays for everything with WeChat. And Chinese people and Chinese nationals and permanent residents in the United States who are Chinese, they use WeChat to pay their bills back home, to pay their gas bill and pay their fucking rent, and to, you know, send gifts and red envelopes on Chinese New Year and all that kind of shit. And you're gonna does that qualify as a transaction? I think it does. I think it would. It makes sense to me. You know what they decided? You know what the Trump administration decided about what constituted a transaction between WeChat and Americans or America or American businesses in WeChat and TikTok? We don't know. They never bothered to get around to clarifying what a transaction is. It did nothing. It didn't change shit. It did not affect people who were being paid through WeChat or people paying through WeChat. Investments in WeChat and TikTok didn't change. Now, they were on the way down anyways, so the chances of people like, oh, this is a good time in the middle of the pandemic as everything shut down and China's situation is even more draconian. This is a great time to invest in fucking, TikTok or WeChat, said no one. But that was Trump's attempt at looking like, I'm going to do something about this fucking China thing, these China people. And he did nothing. Nothing. Not only did he delay it 45 days, it only lasted technically it never went into effect. It really didn't. And kitty, hold on, wait a second. I got to bring in Tara now because she's got to look at this kitty. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got I have the wrong background on. That's Texas Paul's background. And I have one that I made just for Tara. I'll bring it up in a second. Look at that. Hold on a second. I'll bring it up, then I unmute you. There she is. Aw. Can you hear me? I don't hear audio coming from you. I don't know why that is. Hold on one second. Let me check. Fire up some audio for me. Oh, that's weird. I see it in there. That's not you.
It's
there
not
it is.
me.
There you go. Now I got you. Okay, you're good. Look at that.
Hi.
Got it.
Hi. I'm cold. She was an extra layer of warmth for a moment. Now she's
well,
gone.
that's humans are pack animals for a reason. When we
like Ethel Kennedy on the beach. I'm cold.
I'm cold. Why are we here? Put something on. You're making me cold.
Exactly.
Right. That's exactly it.
It's
so
fine. I don't really have to wrap myself in a blanket. It's okay.
You can if you want to. Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm good, and let's hope the power stays on the whole time.
Yeah, it's Portland. So and I did make a Portland background for you. #RipPortland, Portland, by the way. And I'll put it up in a second. I just
great.
I got caught unawares because it was in a different folder. But first of all, how you doing? How's it going? And everybody's like, okay. The book, buy the book. We know, buy the book. Yeah, we got you guys trained.
We'll get there.
Yep,
we'll get there.
Yep.
So last Monday, when I was on the air with you, and we lost power, and then I finished the show sort of in the dark. The power came on like an hour and a half after it went out, and then I went to go food shopping as humans are wont to do.
Sure.
And then my car wouldn't start because my battery died. My battery died right after the power, And I know the two things aren't related. I don't think I'm in an M. Night Shyamalan movie where everything is all, it's not, you know, that movie with Julia Roberts. It's not that. But it was weird. And I spent 2 days last week in pursuit of fixing things and ended up having to pay a lot, to pay like $200 and such for a new battery.
Yes, you do. Isn't that how it is? Isn't that how it is?
Well, it's always when you have extra no money that
right.
like this happened. It's when you don't have a job and you haven't sold your book to Hollywood yet, and you have no offers coming in. Hey, and you have February rent looming. That's when your battery will die, right? So
I'm familiar.
That's when there will be some sort of disaster. And what's really extra weird is, I shared that I had the car issue, and like 3 of other of my friends also had their batteries die or something weird similarly happen. Oh, there's Portland. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a very much leave
so
the world
I made a
behind
special Portland background for you because it's a live feed from Portland. Yeah.
It would be nice though, because then we would actually be warm. It's like 19 degrees here right now.
Yeah.
And it did snow, which of course means the city essentially shut down. And it's supposed to snow again tomorrow, which means there's no kale to be found anywhere in the Portland groceries. No, there's always a run on kale and bottled water. Whenever there's like, why do you want kale? You can't subsist on kale.
Yeah, but isn't that because you guys wipe your ass with kale? Isn't that because it's you're so organic? Yeah. I thought it was a law in Portland.
We wipe our asses with kale and we poop into buckets of kombucha. That's
right.
how we compost.
I understand. It makes total sense to me. Sorry, there's everybody see the local Portlandian person there just hanging out.
I think I saw that guy on Tinder.
Absolutely. Yeah, right.
For sure.
He checks all your boxes, let me tell you. Hey, what are you doing?
I don't have a dating pool. That's my dating pool that's been set on fire.
Sure. As you do.
Actually, next month, the Low Bar Corral, my beloved sing-along drop-in choir community, is doing our annual Valentine show where we do all Elton John songs. And I'll be telling a story about the joys of dating in Portland. So if you're in Portland, please come and see us.
Whoa, man. Whoa, man. We had love, not just sex. Is she Mrs. X? I had to run for my life. Hey, Jane, get me off this crazy thing called love.
Mine is the Portland. It's called the Portland Dating Questionnaire.
Sure.
And it's a list of questions to ask a potential suitor, just to screen, to save everybody a lot of time. Because if I don't have to leave this apartment, I don't. So, and if I don't have to make an effort, better for me, right?
Thanks,
and let's save everybody a whole lot of time. And so it's, from my own personal experience of what to be looking out for just in case. And what's happened is that, you're just always learning as a human what you will and will not accept. True. And, maybe when you start out in your dating process, which I did in 2012, you have optimism. I call my 40s the optimistic years because I really thought I was going to find a partner. I did not. So just the screening, and it begins with basic questions like, are you a musician? Are you a chef? Are you a chef who's also a musician? And then it just goes on from there to include such questions as, did your spouse recently die? Or, have you ever shown up at a woman's house late at night after she's told you she doesn't want to see you anymore? Just weird things. Are you selling your plasma to pay your bills, which I can't even do because I can't give blood. So if you can't give blood, you also
I thought you were talking about
TB.
Right, sure.
No. Well, TB. Yeah, technically I'm a carrier for TB, and I have remember in grade school, Gen Xers, when they gave you the PPD test, and if your arm blew up, then you had to go to the doctor. That happened to me in the 6th grade, and my arm blew up real big, which means, and I got tested and I didn't have TB, but that didn't stop my pediatrician from calling me Typhoid Mary. That was fine. And I had to get regular chest x-rays and be on medication for a year, but I will always have that positive PPD, which means I'm a carrier. And so I can't sell my plasma to pay my rent. So I can't do that. But anyway, there are other questions on the Portland dating questionnaire. So therefore, if you're in Portland, please come see how and
Right.
we're also going to do a show in Salem, heading down to the rockin' metropolis of Salem, Oregon. So if you crazy kids in Salem are out
Wow.
there and you're looking for leap
Witch
day
hunt.
fun,
Witch
we're
hunt.
going to be
Good
there.
place for a witch hunt. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just a witch hunt. It's all a witch hunt.
They also stormed the Capitol in Salem. It's fine. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be there on Leap Day. We're going to be in Salem on February 29th. So I'm actually going on tour with the Low Bar Corral. It feels exciting.
Look at that. All
Feels
right.
exciting. You know,
That's a gig.
I don't get any money for it, but it's the pleasure of getting to perform, which I love to do and don't get to do often enough. So it's a delight, and it's the light in the darkness. My Low Bar Corral. When you come to Portland, we'll make sure you come on a night.
I insist.
When you have to, you will love it so much. And the group singing, people out there who are in the chat, seek out some sort of community in your area of a like-minded interest to get you away from. See the fire behind me? We all need a break from the fire.
Yeah.
And the fire behind Hal. We all need a break from that to keep this, you know, from like going really off the deep end. And, you know, not everyone gets to go on the sexy liberal tour, Hal. So I say you find a community in your town, something with some sort of creative expression, a writing group, a singing group, some sort of where you can enjoy that communal feeling.
A men's group, right, where you can play in a drum circle and look at your balls with a hand mirror. Sure.
Anything that you wear, because, you know, finding your people, I think, matters now more than ever. Because if you can't get an escape, because part of the reason people experience political burnout, and they talk about burnout all the time, is that they don't build in any downtime for themselves because they're afraid they'll miss something, or you know, or whatever it is. You know, we didn't always wake up and immediately go, "What is happening?"
Right.
So,
well, we got so used to white knuckling things. It's interesting to me that post Bush,
like that forever.
I think I don't want to get too much into, like, they were still booing us when booing him when we came on the sort of Spinal Tap ideology, but people got so used to being disgusted by the presidency under George W. Bush that we sort of haven't recovered. That there's a lot of people that people will say that Trump broke the trust. Trump is an example, I think, of a zit exploding from the pressure of the zit. But really the infection started largely under George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Yellow Cake and Iraq and all that kind of stuff, that it really just brought the whole thing to a head about how, like, it felt like the government was out of our control, and people were marching in the streets for a war that made no sense, you know, to stop a war that made no sense in Iraq and all that kind of stuff. And then you just kind of, like, it didn't change anything. And then Obama came in and they pared down, Iraq stops, but then Afghanistan kind of chugs along, and every attempt to try to bring it out, like, all the generals are like 6 more months, 8 more months. And even though Biden was telling Obama, like, they're always going to tell you that, trust me, I'm old, I know this shit. They didn't, and so Trump runs on getting us out of Afghanistan. Never fucking does. And there's this idea that
he doesn't do shit.
Right.
He has not done anything except make things worse for everybody, including himself. And it would be great if anybody who still supports him would just wake up and realize that. They're not going to, though. We've talked about how there's always going to be that segment of his cult that will support him and keep blowing up his bullshit regardless. Did you see him dawdling in from Iowa last night? Did you see that video of him? So I don't think he was expecting to be greeted in any way. It looks like he changed into his jammies on the plane and then threw his overcoat over his jammies and was kind of shuffling in. And he didn't fit. I'm so afraid to touch my earbuds that I'm going to hang up on you.
Right.
But he didn't do this when people fix their hair. They kind of usually go like that. And he went like this to make sure it wasn't falling off of his head.
Right.
And he's like, great energy. Whoa, let's go.
Yeah.
He's death warmed over.
It's bad. Like, his speeches.
Dead man walking.
And I got to say, like, number one is, like, his big clamor yesterday. And I watched a bunch of his bullshit, over the last, since the radio show, basically. I've just been listening to his nonsense on Saturday afternoon. And he's done like 3, 4 of these events where he's going around of different crowd sizes, and they're all pitiful. He even even got booed at one where a climate activist stood up or whatever, and he had this, he was like, "Go home to mommy." That was his like auto reflex tough guy bullshit. But then he was like, he went to this like so young too, like he started skeeving on her. And he couldn't not. It was like it's all muscle memory. Do I pretend to be a tough guy, or do I sexually assault her? I don't know which one. So he kind of flicked back and forth. Right.
When you're a celebrity, they just let you. You can do anything you want.
Looks like shit. And he sounded bad. And each one, you could tell his voice was getting drier and drier and drier, having these things. And he sort of forgot. Now he repeats himself all the fucking time, and it's the same talking points. And it's like the dementia version of propaganda. Like, just keep telling the same story till everybody's got it memorized. And even went like, does anybody want to hear the snake later? Or should we end with the snake? Okay, we'll end with the snake. The snake, if I could snake.
See the picture of him with the pizzas? He walked into some fire station carrying a stack of pizzas that we don't know who paid for that. Well, actually, MAGA paid for it. The grift paid for it.
Yeah. Campaign allegedly had to pay for it.
Biden would fall over. What? How much? How? That's not heavy. A couple of barely.
Right. Also, the idea is that they should be grateful that he walks in with pizzas for them. Like, well, that'll get them the votes, right? These fucking apes that just squirt water at problems. It's weird. Anyways, so each one of these things, he got more ragged as they went on. And all I could think of is that he's going to do like 3 today. They're all over the fucking place today, even in the snow and all that shit. Yeah. And even in doing all these, like, that's not a winning move. If you're having to barnstorm to lock down Iowa caucuses when you were already president once, and his goal is they got to hit 51%. That if Nikki Haley gets, 16% and DeSantis hits 8 and goes single digit, or Vivek gets, 8% or whatever, and then the rest of them chatter off to people are still dicking around. If he gets less than 51%, if it's 49 even, or even honestly, I would say if it's less than 60%, he's kind of fucked. Then it will be. He's in deep shit. Like, it looks bad. Like, he's having to he's this close to fucking door knocking, and he was already president. He was already the president.
It's a pathetic. They are in a very pathetic
position. Yes, agreed.
They don't have a unifying candidate. They haven't in a while, right? And we touched on this last week. Chris Christie dropped out way too soon. I think he should have hung in there because it's a process of elimination at this point. And I think they're all trying. I mean, I don't understand how that he can even be considered in the Iowa caucus when all signs point to Judge Engeron finding him guilty for something this week. He's going to be convicted on something. Right. The fact that he even got to speak in court and wasn't immediately yoinked for contempt is just like, how did Judge Engeron let that go? Is beyond. He's going to get something's going to stick. And then he's still got a humongously long court calendar after this, and he's going to rack up conviction after conviction after conviction, making it impossible for him to be their nominee. And then who are they left with? DeSantis? No. And they don't like Nikki Haley.
Nope.
But they're stuck with her. And they want to have, it's one of those, I vote for a woman, but not that woman.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that they have strategically speaking, there are those making the calculation, it would seem, that if we run a woman of color against Joe Biden, it gives us a wedge with which to push other voters our direction, or shake off Donald Trump in a way if she's but the problem is they'll go down, they're going to lose, not because there were Democrats that didn't decide that suddenly because she's a woman of color they automatically agree with her politics, which is its own form of racism, but that she's going to lose because Republicans won't show up. Again, that the most staggering thing about Sarah Palin, besides her idiocy, was the fact that she had a 70% likability rating and a 20% electability rating in the Republican Party. They all loved her, but women should stay home. That was the problem. That was her glass ceiling is below her shoulders. It's they're in the enough lady version of things. And again, this is the party that has embraced Andrew fucking Tate in the last year and a half, right?
Sammy the Bull Gravano just
Right.
endorsed Trump. That's bragging rights?
Yeah.
A murderous mobster who was a rat, by the way, and allegedly Donald Trump hates rats, but now he loves a rat who's all what? And that's okay with the MAGA masses.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna. I mean, again, Trump.
Sure. Like, you want to negate everything else, including the rape charge, but really, that's your guy. That's your guy. No, boy, it's just.
Well, the belief that
that gets you to stop this already.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Cult member, nothing, right?
But every sign, look at the QAnon folks to some degree, and even that has, like, it's interesting watching its kind of weird death, because the Q crowd is still humping along on Telegram with like a couple of like these Q Telegram channels that I followed long ago that are still there, and they're still pumping shit out all the time. And according to them, Lloyd Austin is dead, has been replaced with a clone, that kind of shit. Or that, Donald Trump wears fucking Joe Biden disguise to talk to the military and then goes back to Mar-a-Lago and has chocolate cake. It's fucking crazy. But Mike Flynn is the primary, he primes the Q pump all the time with those folks. He is definitely, that is a financial vein that he and Lin Wood are both mining like fucking crazy. But there was a period where I think you and I both were like, when is the fucking QAnon Pizzagate shit fever gonna break? Because this is nuts. This is dangerous. There's a dude showing up at a fucking pizza place with a goddamn gun because there was shit going on in a basement that it doesn't even have. And it looked like, how the fuck do you shake these people out? Well, they didn't. They fucking whimpered away. They all petered out.
This morning, and here's something that I've learned recently is the structure for getting your payouts on Twitter, your monetization on Twitter. It's really based on more negative than positive engagement.
Yep.
Right. So I'm kind of poking some bears just because I'm fucking broke and because it's easy money.
Right.
So, but it's only, again, I'm reactive. I don't go out specifically looking for it, but when they find me, and of course they do, because I'm a manga bingo card for them.
Right.
It's all about presenting them with the truth. And now they're scapegoating Fani Willis because she's going to end Donald Trump in her way in Georgia.
Right.
And this guy keeps harping on how she did this and she did this. And I'm like, how did Fani Willis force Donald Trump to pick up the phone and bully Brad Raffensperger?
Right. Yeah.
That's illegal. It is illegal to do what he did. Well, it was a perfect phone call. Really? Fuck you. No, it wasn't. It was the opposite of perfect.
That's for a jury to decide. That's for a jury to decide. And the grand jury, it has nothing to do with her or her alleged affair with this dude. Nothing at all. Right.
Scapegoat in a storm, because that's why they scapegoat Hunter Biden and his big penis. That's why they scapegoat black women. That's why they scapegoat liberal Jewish women. It's all our fault that Donald Trump disappointed them. They can't possibly hold him responsible because he won't take responsibility. That doesn't mean we don't hold him responsible.
Right.
So, but when you are presented with cold, hard facts, as I did with this child this morning, where I was like, this is what a jury said. This isn't what MSNBC said. MSNBC only reported what the jury said. Fake news. So, all news that they don't like is fake. All truth they don't like is fake. The only news that matters is the truth that makes Donald Trump seem like he's beating Joe Biden. So, I was on Bob's show last week, and it was the morning of the day that Christie dropped out. And so we had an extensive discussion about how Christie really needs to hang in there, because he's literally the only person the GOP has who's public facing, who says truthful things about Donald Trump. He's one of the few. And he was their only candidate who spoke the truth about Donald Trump and also did not support a federal 6-week abortion ban, which Nikki Haley does. And so another reason why she's not going to get votes is even Republican women aren't going to vote for that. So who do you really have? You have a sundowning criminal who's freezing his ass off in Iowa for you, but he ultimately can't be your candidate. He really can't. Ron
Mm-hmm.
DeSantis can't be your candidate because he's thoroughly unlikable, you know,
Right.
and just the fact that he's doing all of this shit. And I don't know if you saw, but like his book bans have now pissed off Bill O'Reilly because his book ban banned Bill O'Reilly's book.
Right.
So as the leopards keep turning around and eating each other's faces, who's actually going to be the face of the GOP?
Right.
Who do they want to be? Where do they want to go? Because they didn't do anything in the House this year. They have not accomplished a thing.
Well,
so
and that's
what Democrats
right.
are running on. No one can beat Joe Biden.
No.
No matter who they put up. They can't
Right.
because they don't have a proven track record of success like we do.
No.
They just don't. Facts
well,
and facts. And
I would even go so far as
yeah.
That's what the like
fight them.
Biden has like they've stockpiled like $94 million in the last quarter. Huge, haul of money for the election, and they actually like Trump is just in the hole. Like he literally just spending it as soon as he's spending it before he even makes it. And this is a guy who was supposed to be able to run without money. He doesn't need donors. He didn't need, why wouldn't he be the guy who walks up with text, something to Trump to donate or whatever, just take it off the fucking stand and throw it down and go, I'm rich. I don't have to do this shit. He would be like a huge hero to the Republican Party. He just can't because it's a lie. It's fucking fake.
He has no money. I don't know why Alina Habba thinks she's getting paid, or he'll pay her legal fees when she finally goes to prison.
Especially after Taco Penis took off today. Trump's.
I missed that.
Yeah, Joe Taco Penis. He quoted, "He will no longer represent the former president in the falsified business records case brought by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. They did not address his departure in this day, but he provided the Times, but reportedly said Trump had the most experienced, qualified, disciplined, and overall strongest legal team ever assembled. Well, when he loses, I guess we'll know.
Tapioca. Okay. Yeah. That statement is about as substantial as tapioca, because the best legal team in history. Why doesn't he ever win?
Yes.
Then?
Yeah. Exactly.
But see, the argument that MAGA comes back with is, why hasn't he been convicted? And I'm like, well, he was found liable of raping E. Jean Carroll by a jury, and that's a matter of public record. Why isn't that enough for you? Like,
right.
No, he
well,
wasn't.
and also,
yes, he was. So,
yes, he was, and he's gonna, and he thinks he's gonna show up for the. That's the other thing, too. Like, he thinks he's gonna show up to the E. Jean Carroll case. He thinks it's like a do-over. It isn't for him. It is for her, because he's already been found guilty. It's just like the fraud case. He's already guilty on the merits. It's not even a question. On paper, the Trump 40 Wall Street does not have 76 fucking floors in it. It has 62, or whatever the other was 64 versus 72, whatever it is. It's got 10 floors fewer than he said it did. That's fraud. That's it. You don't get to try fraud and go, do your own research, but it does have 10 floors more than they said. Like, it's bullshit. Like, nobody's going to go down there and count the windows. But the other thing is like, he's just allowing that bullshit to be passed on. An attempt at fraud is just like fraud. Just because you suck at it, or you've been able to bullshit your way through it, or that banks are scared to not continue to prime the pump, because if you don't pay this shit back, everybody who works on that floor is fired. And so they got to keep throwing good money after bad. That's what happened with Deutsche Bank. The attempt to bullshit people and say that his apartment in the building was 3 times the size it actually was, that's fraud. I don't care if you say this might be fraud on the front of it and then continue.
No, it's 100% fraud.
The other thing too is, who the fuck says they got the whole document? They don't sign on every page. So how do we know? I'm dead serious about this. You send over their prospectus or whatever. Who says the version that they got is the same version that we saw in court every single time? That's another thing for another time. Ultimately, though,
James has enough on him already, and
dude can't even run a charity in New York because he's been found guilty of bilking charities, veterans charities.
He is on the brink of not being able to do any real estate interactions whatsoever. He's on the brink right now. When he loses this case, thanks to Letitia James, when Judge Engeron rules against him, he will not be able to conduct any real estate
Yeah.
transactions at all in the state of New York. And
Right.
that will really kill him because that's what the well he always goes back to are his properties. And he's
Well, I
going to have
mean,
to start selling them off. He's going to have
there
to,
is no
they're going to
right. There is no Donald
they're going to
Trump.
seize all of the assets and all of
Right
the
there.
properties.
Hold on, let me make sure that you're. Can you give me an audio check? Just make sure you're loud enough.
Check two.
There you go.
Check
Okay, that's a little bit.
two.
I'll bring you up a little bit.
Toast,
But
sibilance. Okay.
sibilance. Smart number one. Smart number one. Isn't this a lot of fun? There is no Donald Trump of Indiana. There is no Donald Trump of the Midwest. There is no Donald Trump of fucking South Dakota. In terms of there's oil barons. There are people who make lots of money at. As the head of Garmin or whatever the fuck, most of the industries in the Midwest and in the Plain States and stuff, even big agriculture, are publicly held companies where the people who run them, have to are liable in terms of what they're required to do from a business standpoint because they're investors have to get paid back. Donald Trump has never been in that particular situation. He's always played a shell game with big international banks and their subsidiaries in the United States. And he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids and their stupid dog. But also because he ventured
running
outside.
for president.
He ventured outside the dome. The New York kind of real estate bubble is a fucking dome. And they're like, look, we'll put up with a bunch of, we know that it's all mobbed up in here. We know even trying to get out from under the mob from the 1970s as far as financing and shit is a long and arduous process. So we'll look the other way as long as you don't start any new shit. Well, Trump started new shit.
Yep.
That was one.
Not.
Right. Because it's all about his own personal ego, and there was a woman who was calling him out on his bullshit, so he flipped out, ran for president. One, because of a bunch of faux-gressives throwing their vote and going, it's better if it all crashes down. Never mind who it crashes down on, because it sure as fuck won't be them, because they'll be tick-tocking from a fucking pottery barn, while with pillows all around them and a latte.
Right. Did you see what he said about the economy? That he hopes it'll tank in the next 12 months so they can blame it on Biden. Right. And he doesn't want to be Herbert Hoover because he doesn't want to be the only president who's lost jobs and the only president where the economy blew up. And
he already was.
Sorry. Exactly. And then that's what Joe Biden is saying. Joe Biden is out there making these great videos now about, oh, he did that. Oh, well, it's because he lost. Oh, that's because he's a loser. You already did that already.
Yep.
So, I mean, the social media game is on point over there in the White House. So all the Republicans will continue to do, including Trump, is just make Democrats look cooler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they aren't funny. They aren't savvy. They aren't smart. They aren't sharp. They aren't up on trends. They don't know how to speak to each other. They don't know how to speak to regular people. And they don't know how to appeal to the voting masses who aren't on social media. Because if you think about it, not everybody. Can you hear me okay? Because you're looking around like you can't. Okay.
No. I was just, there was perhaps a Twitch issue, but I'm just checking it. We're okay. I'm always having to do that shit at the same time.
The other thing that we have to keep in mind is so much of the voting population does not engage the way we do. Mm-hmm. And there are now what we're seeing is people who are on social media taking their don't trust the media off of social media and trying to get it in front of more people. Because they're losing their ability to reach these people with false information if they're not seeing them on social media.
Well, so, that's that sort of flooding the zone with bullshit.
Is doing that.
This whole kind of Bannon idea of baffle them with bullshit, where you just you try to muddy the waters so much that everybody forgets you're a criminal. The problem is there's too many outlets for that shit anymore. Like, there used to be only 3 places you could touch base back in the day, and now you can hunt down your own sources for almost anything, and you could even if it's something you believe, half of these paranoid assholes are like, that's what they want me to believe, right? That Michael. So a good example of kind of the bullshit back and forth is that Mike Pillow had his ads pulled off Fox this week. Aww. And he said he went on Bannon's show and said he was being canceled, and it's because he supported our real president Donald Trump and blah blah blah. Never mind the fact that he's just an asshole and he put his entire company at risk because of his own particular political
fucking
vice.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it turns out he owes Fox $7.8 million that he hasn't paid for ads that have been on the network already. And Fox said, we'll be happy to air his ads as soon as he pays up those, and then puts a deposit on the next round because A, that's how business works, but also B, it's a fucking election year. Fox and all the other networks, especially Fox right now, have way more options as far as what they can run in the ad zone than they have in an off year. They just do. Like, that's their fucking bread and butter. And because there's such a fight around the Republicans and such an appetite to show that you're shitting on Biden, there are tons of anti-Biden ads running on Fox, which is just fucking preaching to the choir, or I suppose a panic attack because a lot of right-leaning independents or whatever you want to call them, or former Republicans who are embarrassed by their Trump vote are voted for Biden last time and are going to do it again because they're trying to shed this infection. Mm-hmm. They've got to like talk those folks down allegedly, and it's not working. So yeah,
of course it's not working. Of course
right.
It's not working. Now you have Laura Loomer out there going, if this happens, we're not voting. Okay.
Yeah.
Stay home. That's what we want you to do anyway.
Boo fuckity who. Yeah.
Yeah. Go. And then
you're not going to vote anyways. Like the funny thing is, a bunch of them didn't anyways. Right.
They didn't show up in 2020. That's how Biden won with 81 million votes.
Right.
More of us showed up. It was math, not the deep state, not fraud, not when they found what was it, like almost 4,000 votes for Biden between the fake votes and the votes that they found for Biden in Virginia. He's just going to keep winning. Knock it off.
Right.
Knock it off already.
And,
but again,
try to float somebody. Try to float somebody in your party that actually represents the values and the ideas and the sort of complex philosophy of what you believe actually exists, as opposed to these fucking cartoon versions of the most extreme
that's what I was saying. When it comes to Chris Christie, obviously he looks like Otis from Superman, and he's never going to get his Otisburg. I call him Governor Otis Bridgegate.
Sorry, Mr. Luthor. Right.
It's a nice little town.
Mm-hmm.
Ran Christie as your nominee, you would have him somewhat speaking truthfully. I mean, you don't have to agree with any of his policies, okay?
Right.
But if you are someone who's in the Federalist Society, you're Leonard Leo, you're a man with deep pockets and major Republican influence, and you were helping get Trump off the ballot, I don't know why you're not having a meeting with Christie right now saying, that hat, pick it up and throw it back in the ring. Because you can do that. You can drop back in if you want. I mean, I don't think that there are any rules about that.
He's still on the ballot in Nevada.
So I would posit that, and honestly, I'm not trying to help the Republicans anyway, because again, he's not going to beat Joe Biden regardless. But if you think anybody is ever going to have something that resembles faith in your party ever again, after the shit show that the House Republicans put on last week, and that Democrats can keep going back to that and will keep doing because it's a performance for an audience of one, Chris Christie could very much lean heavily into, saying, well, I wouldn't tolerate that for my House Republicans, and I would do this, and how Donald Trump did this, and Donald Trump did this, and barrage them with facts while also saying, and my opponents support a crazy, ridiculous, restrictive or abortion ban. I only support abortion bans up to this. Now, I don't support this. So he has some normalcy. He has some traits that could redeem the party, but they will not because they're afraid of what Donald Trump is going to tell on everybody when he's cut loose.
We ran into this with Trump at his town hall that he did in Iowa last week with on Fox with Brett Baer and blonde number 7, whatever.
Because he wouldn't go to the debate of two people.
Right. That they had a woman stand up and ask about the abortion issue and say she was between him and Ron DeSantis. Now Ron DeSantis believes in a 5-week ban. Which is ridiculous, but is not permanent ban. It's like, it's basically, the idea is as soon as you find out you're pregnant, you better race over and get an abortion immediately or all bets are off. That's their idiotic mentality about this. Trump, on the other hand, this woman, by the way, she's having her decision process was she believes in life begins. She has 6 kids. Believes life begins at conception and that she thinks it should be completely outlawed. And she's trying to decide between him and Trump. And Trump basically said that he's wrong because you got to win elections. And I was like, okay, first of all, talk about being blind to the voter that's right in front of you. You know what I mean? He's like, first you got to go with your heart and then your head. But then, you got to win elections. We got to win elections. And the idea being this, that Ron DeSantis' 5-week thing is not going to win us elections. And my system, what I'm going to come up with, and they try to press him like, what is the standard? What's the limit? What week? And he goes, well, we're going to work on it. We're going to talk to a bunch of people, and then we're going to come out with everybody really happy. And I was like,
in 2 weeks.
That woman is never going to be happy with anything that allows abortion. That woman is against contraception, you dumb motherfucker. There is no middle ground with that part of your voter block. It doesn't exist. They have left the negotiating table at the start. And he never,
unreachable.
It was fucking, and it was word salad. And at some point, like, it was, the weird part about it was that a slick politician would be a way to find out, that, we got to get the votes and kind of phrase it where it looked like he was trying to get to these thoughts, but he couldn't find the words. The irony that Biden has a stutter, and part of having a stutter is certain words just lock up. And a lot of times you have to find a way to rephrase what you're saying to get around that word because it just won't come out. And Trump is doing that all the fucking time.
Well, he obviously has aphasia he probably had a mini stroke somewhere and no one told us.
He kept saying election, like he's election interference is their talking point. This is election interference, all these things. And then he couldn't say election interference last week. He kept saying political interference. And he kept saying political interference. And it was hard to tell if he just forgot the phrase election interference or they were workshopping that one because election interference wasn't working, which I can't believe because the right-wingers repeated all the time.
The only person who interfered was him.
Right.
So
and
it's still
the oranges, yes.
Regardless.
It's 3D Tech in the chat is pointing out, like, when he said the oranges of the COVID epidemic, that kind of shit, he gets caught in those, which is way weirder than a stutter. You know what I mean?
He uses the word ludicrous on Truth Social, but spells it like the rapper Ludacris.
Right.
Did you see that?
No.
He doesn't have the sense of a goat. It's just, it's ridiculous.
It's
right?
so fucking weird.
And again, like anybody in a cult, it doesn't matter. You could put the truth right in their faces and they'll go, well, that's fake. That's AI. That's deep state. That's a lie. I don't believe you. And they're only going to believe him and what he says. When you get people talking to you with his words, you're like, they're unreachable. Those people are unreachable. And he's so dumb that he has no sense of, he also will try to please the last person he spoke to. So that woman, if she had said the word, she says, I don't believe in contraception, he probably would have made some joke about pulling out,
Totally.
Right. So.
Which got me in trouble with E. Jean Carroll. Now that's evidence if you think about it. Is it? Yeah, right.
Well,
fucking gross.
And I thought she was my first wife when someone showed me a photo. So, but like every step of the way he is always, and like Mary Trump will tell you, and everybody who's been watching him closely for decades will tell you, he's been telling on himself since the beginning. And he's always been walking projection language, and he's always been telling us what he did. Everything that every accusation is a confession, which if you want to go back to 2016, everything that he was accusing Hillary of was true of him. So he stole the 2016 election. He's the one who interfered in 2020. He's the one. It's all him, but it's all about the deflection and the moving of the goalposts. And they will twist themselves into pretzels to believe the biggest lie instead of just accepting the real truth that's right in front of them.
Right.
And it's up to us to be louder than that. It's up to us to do what you're doing. And you're out here every day yelling the truth. And Bob and the sexy liberal people, which I think we should get on Stephanie's show at some point and, talk to her, talk to John, just like get the because we need to be the loudest voices.
Yes.
Us and 11 Films and Brooklyn, and all the people who are on our side, and Vote Vets and all the good people. We really need to be louder than MAGA. We need to keep blasting, and we really
yes,
and push back against every MSM talking point that you see.
Yes, I also
let
agree
them normalize him as a
there's
candidate.
a certain level of like stand your ground to the as far as these talking points as well, because a lot of people will get, because the thing about being a Democrat is heretofore it has been more complicated to be a Democrat than a Republican, because specifically everybody we have a big tent, and there's a lot of different agendas and a lot of different needs and a lot of different focuses that we're trying to coordinate, and that's why it was traditionally herding cats and all that kind of stuff. And the Republican Party was always kind of uniform in their kind of jingoistic, neo-Christic, nationalist bullshit. And and it became they had 2 tuning forks instead of 7, right? And we're talking like at a certain point the Democratic Party is a fucking piano and the Republican Party is a triangle. That's it. Just ding. That's it. That's all you got to do, and they will walk with you. That has changed immensely. And all this deep state talk and all this fighting amongst Republicans about who's trustworthy and the rhinos and all that kind of stuff is shit that used to fuck with us more. That's what gave us Nader gifting George W. Bush the presidency. That's what gave us the soft walk through Clinton versus Trump, where women's rights were handed to a pussy-grabbing second-generation rich kid who's a total fraud, right? Oh, you kitty. Speaking of which, Duke of and it's
This is a giant, ridiculous baby. Look how big
he's a very big boy. And he keeps you warm on a chilly night. But we used to have that problem. We used to have the piano key problem. But now we're kind of pretty well coordinated. There's a sour note once in a while, but overall, we're all in. The Republicans have now discovered the hurt of attempting very poorly to broaden a tent they have no interest in broadening, because again, Trump, even when he touts the Latino vote that he's added, hates it. Literally, the only one he thinks it's valuable to have are Cubans because of Florida, because of money, because of jingoistic nationalism, and it's been there forever. It's not the new folks that have a growth interest in being Americans. He doesn't even think they can be, and it creeps them the fuck out. I mean, you should see Tucker Carlson talk about it. It's hilarious. Like, well, our black people and Hispanics are coming to the to the Republican Party. Does my forehead look like a butt crevice now? I'm nervous. So the issue that they have is the issue that we kind of used to have, and luckily there's been a clarity in the shit that we're dealing with. Things get really serious. People, kind of like post 9/11 or after the crash, or even around COVID, Democrats tend to coalesce a lot more.
Yeah.
Republicans, for a myriad of reasons, now officially scatter at the first sign of controversy or difficulty.
Cowards.
Yeah, well, and Laura Loomer, you brought her up. She tweeted out, "Is the deep state activating HARP to disrupt the Iowa caucus? We all know Nikki Haley has a lot of friends in the defense industry and military-industrial complex. She's losing in Iowa, and now Iowa is set to get hit with a once-in-a-decade blizzard as Donald Trump is set to dominate the Iowa caucus. Is the deep state using HARP to rig the Iowa caucus? Looks like weather manipulation to me. Take a look at this weather radar below and how the incoming snowstorm accelerated out of nowhere." Okay, first of all, it didn't accelerate out of nowhere. The polar vortex has been pushing down. Oh, kitty. But the polar vortex...
She's such an idiot. Nobody controls the weather. There's not even a God doing that. Stop it.
Well,
it's just science.
Right.
It's human caused climate change. That's fine.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that rather than recognize long-term consequences and severe weather and stuff, like the rest of us have been going, yeah, this is what happens. It's why we call it climate change and not global warming, because it causes spikes and stuff, and it changes the climate because the overall temperature goes up, and then the earth compensates and the polar vortex jerks down there, and then you get freezing snap colds and then too hot. And then it's, it's all deadly, like all the time. More tornadoes, hot air and cold air that is more strikingly hot and strikingly cold, getting together, creating more damaging hurricanes, more damaging tornadoes, and duh, fucking duh.
And then the polar ice caps melting into the ocean, changing the salinity of the oceans, which affects your environment, which is why you get these polar vortexes.
Right.
Just watch The Day After Tomorrow, and please also now ignore that Dennis Quaid doesn't believe in science anymore. It's fine. His brother got a hold of him and just got the rest of him.
Well, here's the thing: the fact that Laura Loomer, who Trump has been touting at some of his events, is basically the new MTG, effectively, because that's how MTG came in too. Laura Loomer is the second QAnon, in terms of ranking.
At least she's not in Congress.
Right? Yeah, exactly. She lost.
No, we have Anna Paulina Luna instead of Laura Loomer.
But with Anna Paulina Luna, who's basically interchangeable in her belief system, MTG in that crowd and a bunch of people around there think she's a witch and she's a Democrat woman putting a spell on people as a seductress.
Like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right.
We're all witches. We're all witches. We use magic to get people to do the right thing.
Just promise me you'll only, use your powers for good. But the point is
that
right, high altitude aerial reconnaissance photography or whatever, the HARP system or whatever, is the idea that they think they can send. It's just assholes.
If we could control the weather, don't you think we would have done it a while ago?
Well, I mean, there are limited things you can do. Clouds,
everything.
You can, yeah. Well, it's like goes back to that old Norm Macdonald joke, which is Marlon Brando, got in hot water this week by saying the Jews run Hollywood or something like that, and Jews got back at him by making it snow in New York in May or whatever, because it was snowing that weekend. I'll
reiterate, the Jews don't run shit, because if they did, I wouldn't be worried about paying my February rent. We'll just leave it there.
Well, but then of course you could just be saying that because they're so vicious they might sacrifice their own just to create the illusion of poverty. that's where their brain goes. You have to understand who you're talking to. You're talking sense.
I know who we're talking. I know what we're talking about.
It's you can't talk sense. It's nonsense. It's craziness.
Legitimacy is lent to any of these fucking morons. It's just
so
really frustrating. And by the way, yesterday, Stephanie Rule from MSNBC followed me back finally, which makes more of MSNBC that follows me that doesn't. So anytime you want to have me on to get the word out louder and farther, I'm right here, Steph. Let's do this. Let's chat. And also Joy. Joy needs to stop having Charlemagne the God on, and because he's talking shit about Biden. He's talking a lot of shit, and no one's pushing back against the talking Biden shit on MSNBC, and that's not okay. It's not okay, because the facts that we have on our side need to continue to matter.
Yeah, I have. Don't get me started, because I will. If we jump into, if I hear another one of these motherfuckers clamoring about who never touched the conversation about Sudan and still aren't talking about Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and Russia, and it seems like the only issue they have is when Jews are on one side of the rifle. That's the only time they care about any, like, Arabs or Muslims getting killed, is when Jews are on. They perceive even that Jews are on the other side of the rifle. It's fucked up.
I know, and the misuse of the word genocide when there are true genocides happening in Africa and in Armenia, and it's like, sure, it makes for a snappy hashtag, but it's not authentic. And when people say that there's a deliberate funding, no, Joe Biden isn't like, here are bombs, go kill children. That's not how the American president works.
That is how Cenk Uygur talks about it.
Fuck that guy.
I know, but he had a pivotal role in driving certain voters home, keeping them home, when Hillary ran against Trump, and that is their job. Like, let's be abundantly clear. The goal and the raison d'etre of TYT, and I would argue Jimmy Dore to some degree, although I think he's now corralled his audience into such a small zone that they were never voters anyways, and they won't be, because if you believed half of what you said, same thing with like KK Kalinske and Crystal Ball and Sagar and all that shit. like at a certain point, you're just narrow casting to a smaller and smaller group of people who aren't ever going to vote. Like they checked out of this shit a long time ago. You know, like
Right.
it's like going after the Occupy Wall Street vote to them. You know what I mean? Which is not a vote. They just don't fucking vote, and they're not going to
Well,
until
if you
they're
don't
older.
vote, you don't bitch.
Well, and they're not
You
going to
don't
until they're
exercise your-
older, in which case they will vote for Donald Trump. They will vote for conservatives. They will lean that way.
People who are protecting their retirement funds and their Social Security.
Exactly.
Which are not
They'll
Republicans,
vote.
by the
They'll
way.
vote based on taxes because that's the depth of their belief system. But again, that's a. I could go down that fucking rabbit hole for
I mean,
ever. But
forever, right?
But today
Nothing
is
makes
the
sense.
day. Today is the Iowa caucuses, and
coincidentally MLK Day, so they get to
Yes, it is.
appropriate a black man while standing in Iowa.
The irony.
They get and they get to
catering,
misuse his teaching
right.
and
catering to the biggest like white voter block, there, and then
right.
right. It's
Misquoting
hilarious.
him, misappropriating his
Sure.
teachings. For
Yeah.
the one day a year they can use his name and they think they can get away with it. And Bernice King is tweeting already. She's like, "Don't you do that with my father's name? Don't you do
Right.
that with my mother's name? Don't you do that?" And it's another instance of where we have to be louder. I mean, you don't get to try to appropriate MLK one day a year and then shit all over black people the other 364 or this year
Right.
365.
Well, and again, like we'll see how this kind of runs out today. But ultimately, the big kind of talk is, will Trump clear 50 or 51% in the caucuses or not? And the biggest, I think that there are two things that he has to. We will see how this works out, but because of the weather that he has to deal with that other people don't necessarily, that Nikki Haley and DeSantis don't, is that in cities like Des Moines, where where the caucus will happen, the people that support Nikki Haley and DeSantis are in town. Largely, they are in Des Moines or in the suburbs, or extending out past that point. And Trump's are out in the fucking sticks. Some of them so far out in the sticks, they're not even Iowans. And he has a shit ton of people showing up at his fucking caucus captain meetings to fill in the fucking crowd that aren't from Iowa. They're not Iowans. They can't vote. They shouldn't be. They're not going to be able to vote. They cannot. Nope. And they can show up with a bunch of fucking people, but if anybody walks around and checks IDs, the irony is that they're going to find that a bunch of these people aren't from there. The other issue he has is that a lot of his fuckers are well outside the city. They have to, in the snow, they would have to drive way farther and commit more to it. And if a certain percentage of them, 5-8% of them go, fuck it, he's way ahead, I'll be fine, it's a long drive. That's why he's been clamoring about this. Like, you can't stay home, even if you die. You have to vote for me. You can come and vote and die because it'll be worth it. Yeah,
just vote under your dead wife's name.
Right. Yes. Which is a tried and true, but we'll save that for November, I think. But in all reality, he can't lose a single fucking person. And the caucuses are dumb anyways.
Yeah.
The caucuses are fucking ridiculous. They're a bully fest. And if you have whoever wins the Iowa caucuses has gotten the most bully campaign out there, that they can socially pressure or physically pressure or shout out over people. That's who wins the caucuses traditionally. Like, it's
so
just
great.
ass.
That's what politics are now.
It's fucking stupid.
Great.
It's
nobody wants anybody with merit or real experience or can do anything or knowledge.
That's why he's afraid.
War. None of these things matter.
That's why he's afraid of losing the Iowa caucuses if he gets less than that, because when people vote, they vote secretly in New Hampshire. They vote secretly everywhere else. And that's his big fear, is that people will vote their conscience. Or, in the case of New Hampshire, Democrats and independents can vote in those primaries. And the same thing will happen there. Some of them will cross over and rat fuck. There'll be a little bit of Democratic rat fucking. But the independents who would rather a shot at somebody who isn't Trump are going to come in. And as much as he might bullshit himself into thinking that they're, they're not Republicans and they're not members of the party and how dare they and blah, blah, blah. The reality is a lot of them would vote for a Republican if they thought it was a sensible Republican. And the only way out of that is to ditch fucking Trump. And so a lot of those folks in New Hampshire, it seems, are lining up behind whoever the heavy hitter is. And so the only thing that really matters coming out of tonight is Nikki Haley ahead or is Ron DeSantis still in it? And if Nikki Haley's ahead, that sets her up for New Hampshire. That sets her up for South Carolina again. If she wins New Hampshire because she left him in the dust, South Carolina becomes a real thing. And then everybody's like, at the very least, like I said, they know they're going to lose. Republicans know they're going to lose the general. They fucking know it. That's why they want to shut down the government everywhere, because they know they're going to lose the House too. So
That's
right. So they would, if they can lose by running a woman of color and saying, see that Democrats with all their woke bullshit would rather vote for an old white guy than a woman of color. And it's like, okay.
We have a woman of color. She's the vice president.
Yeah, we're just fine. And she agrees with the policies of the guy that we voted for in the first fucking place. So shoo. You don't get, and that's, again, like I said, that's as racist, if not more racist, to just go, it's the diversity problem where people are like, diversity is great.
You have a
when they just
problem.
When their idea of diversity is find a person of color who talks like you do already. That's not diversity. It's not the point, right? You don't get to, right. And that's what they've been trying to do. That's what they think Nikki Haley is to some degree. And so the idea that right. It's going to be an exciting day of said no one ever. Except Nikki Haley, she goes, it's caucus day. Get excited. She told a crowd of supporters at a diner near.
Weird sweater. She has nothing but crazy weird sweaters in a trunk somewhere, like in her closet, that smells like mothballs. Every sweater she wears look like she went to Michael's first and threw a bunch of shit on it and then went to her.
Whoa. That is not an accident. That is a winning presidential strategy. I'm telling you, because
I'm just like you. I just go crafting and ignore black people.
Exactly. I mean, so my mom, who is lovely and not racist, wears when she gets into her UK sweaters and that kind of stuff. She's going to a game. She just bangles and spangles every fucking thing.
That's a reason.
Yes, and but that's who you're reaching. That's who the female Republican suburban voters that Trump kicked to the curb, who very well may be more moderate on on abortion than they even will say out loud, don't like DeSantis's 5 weeks, think Trump is a pussy grabbing creep, and don't want to and have a hard time raising children who are talking like him right now because the husband won't stop yelling at the TV and showing what he's saying all the fucking time. And so the boys are acting like dad, who's acting like that asshole. That, honest to God. So there's that group of voters is fucking significant. And in places like Iowa and South Carolina especially, they're the stay-at-home moms who spend the money. And so she's wearing those stupid fucking sweaters and corralling them in and going, look, I'm not going to tell you what my number is, but it's going to be probably closer to normal on abortion, and fuck it.
She supports a national 6-week ban. 6 weeks.
Right. It's just a week longer than DeSantis will give you, and you don't know what Trump will give you except chaos. That's the idea. That's it.
So, take it or leave it. At least I'm a lady and I have lady parts and I understand what it's like. And I'm sure it's a terrible decision that you would have to make, but just whatever, whatever the bullshit is, they'll say anything. But it's so performative, considering that Republicans to this day deliberately mispronounce Kamala Harris's first name. How much respect do you think they're really going to be showing Nikki Haley? Not a lot. Not a lot.
So right now, just so you know, a convoy of black Chevy Suburbans and police cars are idling in downtown Des Moines because they were waiting for Trump to head out for the day to go to his locations.
Breakfast.
This is from the article. The convoy was parked outside Hotel Fort Des Moines, where former president is staying, and has become a hangout for journalists hoping to hear from his advisors and catch a glimpse, blah, blah, blah. The Washington Examiner caught a video of him arriving on Saturday evening where the bitter temperatures could not escape his notice, perhaps because he wasn't particularly bundled up. That's when he was in his pajamas. On Sunday, Trump held a rally in the town of Indianola, just south of Des Moines. There he announced the endorsement of North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and delivered, in the words of The Guardian's David Smith, a typically meandering, disjointed, and falsehood-laced speech for an hour and a half, ranging from the proximity of a third world war to lambasting Washington as a rat-infested, graffiti-infested shithole.
Why does he want to go back so bad then?
I don't know. Yeah,
Would Mar-a-Lago be nicer for you?
It's a fucking mystery.
House arrest at Mar-a-Lago, wouldn't that be so much better for you? Probably.
Right. I will have plenty of video later on this afternoon. I want to remind everybody to pick up the Sounds of Settling. You don't have to put that on the Cat. I can handle it. There you go. Sounds of Settling, by Tara Dublin,
which is now sold 432 copies, and we have passed 20,000 pages read on Amazon Kindle.
There you go.
And I continue to get amazing rave reviews, but no one has signed me yet. And no one has decided to jump on this this untapped gold mine. She's in. You know who has this book right now? Henry Winkler has this book.
Sure.
Henry Winkler has.
Who's the nicest person in show business, hands down?
The nicest person in show business. Who he handed off to his son Max. His son Max is
nicer even than me, and that's
nicer than you. Where does it fall? Because there's Henry Winkler and Dick Van Dyke and Mark Hamill and you as like universally beloved and nice.
Yeah.
You know, and you all, I mean,
I think we're all relatively interchangeable, but I would put Henry Winkler head and shoulders above the other three of us. Yeah. Because he's just that sweet.
He was so encouraging when I gave him a copy of my
Reeves,
book and I had a copy
of absolutely.
He was so nice, even though he's profoundly dyslexic and probably will not read it. So, but that's okay. Maybe his wife will.
Steve Martin is not the nicest person, and it's not because he couldn't be. It's because he doesn't like people in general. So,
Who doesn't like people?
Steve Martin.
Oh, Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I love how he keeps a distance between himself and his fans in a way that is funny and respectful, but
it's well within his comfort
really
level. No, he's totally uncomfortable, and he recognizes that, and he works on it. Yeah. Keanu's a little different. Like, Keanu would hug you, but he wouldn't know whether or not he should or shouldn't, so he just kind of avoids you for that reason. Steve is worried all the time you might ask for a hug. That's the biggest. That I swear to God, I think that's how he floats through life. Is that everybody he meets is like, please don't ask for a hug. Please don't ask for a hug. It's very funny. Like, it's just Okay,
well, I'll remember that in case I ever get to meet Keanu Reeves. Until such time.
No, Keanu Reeves. Would hug you, but he doesn't know if he should or not, because how do you feel about it? Like, he's that sweet.
I would feel fine about Keanu Reeves hugging me. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I hear another book coming on. I feel
I've actually written about 250 pages of a sequel to The Sound of Settling because my readers were demanding a sequel. And so in the times that no one is hiring me or paying me, I've been using that time to write a sequel because I've been told it might make me even more attractive to people who buy books and represent people agent-wise.
I love how when the way you pitch yourself is like how my brain used to talk about myself during the 90s internally. I just never said it out loud.
What, then I'm an untapped gold mine? You can make a fuckload of money off of me if you just step up and fucking sign me already? Yes.
Yeah.
It comes from frustration and knowing what you have. You know when you have the goods. And
I do.
And it's not just me that thinks so, though. There's 5-star reviews saying really nice things, including the most recent one who's like, she's done this all on her own. I can't imagine how great she would do if she had a real publisher behind her.
Somebody's been watching my show.
Come on.
Yeah.
Share it with everybody. TaraDublinRocks.com. It's available on Kindle and in paperback. It's a real book. Read it. It's amazing.
There you go.
By the way, yesterday was Dave Grohl's 55th birthday. So if there's any time for me to get a deal, it's now.
Yeah, Dave's a year older than me. He was born in 68. Oh, that's right. Okay.
69, dude. I'll be 55 in April.
That's right, because I was late in the year.
55 this year.
He would have been born in 7.
Don't.
Oh yeah, because early in the year. You're right. Early in the year, because January of 69.
Baby.
I was born.
He's only a few months older than I am. So
right.
Yes, and I'm just saying, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of when I first got my radio job, and 23 years when I first met him. This is an untapped gold mine full of lots of stories.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make magic happen. TaraDublinRocks.com, and then if you're so inclined, maybe drop a tip into the Venmo because the cats are hungry. Cat food fund.
That's not
the cat
right.
Food fund.
That's
doesn't he look
okay.
malnourished and unloved? Anyway.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Have a wonderful week, everybody.
You too.
I'll see you next week.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Tara. Bye.
Bye.
There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget our 100K challenge that we're trying here. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, spread it about, all that kind of stuff. Just hit just that thing. 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. That's what we're shooting for. And 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's not too much to ask. And then the Facebook page and I think Instagram, we already cleared that. And Twitter, shitter as well. Although I don't know what the fuck's going on Twitter these days. Either way, you guys are wonderful. I will see you guys later on this afternoon. There is far too much stuff to cover. Oh my fucking God. And let's see. Yes. Okay, just checking to make sure all my channels are on. And then I have to shut down my system and restart it because it was talk about being hangry. The computer was like very weird. It gets a weekend break and then it's like super fucking confused. It's very odd. I will be back for sure. And I may be on, like I said, we'll see how what the coverage is like, or if Trump's doing a live. I'm sure he's doing a live something. We might have to take one of these things live in his last sales pitch while he fucking panics. Good times. It is negative. Hold on one second. Hold this.
Right now, in Des Moines, Iowa, it's -2 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of -11 degrees.
Oh, fuck me. -2 in Des Moines, Iowa right now. It's going to be -11 later on. Yikes. Yeah, -30 with the wind chill. And that is, of course, because the deep state is trying to curse Donald Trump. It couldn't possibly be, and follow me on this, it couldn't possibly be that maybe, just maybe, God hates him.
We are going to be a country no more. I actually think it will not. It will be a country no more. Here I am like an idiot.
I agree. I'm a dope.
Oh, yeah, that's normal.
A ninth world country, not a third world country, a ninth world country.
Asshole.
You have the ocean and you have the sun. There's something about that works. He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
Asshole. Asshole.
PP2. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you doing? Don't touch my hands because they're dirty. China, don't buy. None of you buy. I like her a lot.
Asshole. The lumpy pillows kiss my ass.
Piece of malware called Q-Snatch.
Boom River. I like fighting number 2. Leave it outside, it's packed. We had a wet vaccine. Cash, green cash. I don't want anything that's good. The past wasn't that long ago. Peace through strength on the earth beyond. Look. Christopher Columbus. Christopher.
I had a beat off.
They said, oh. Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yes. What?
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Here I am like an idiot.
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
He meant explosive in terms of fire. This isn't the let's read the book school. Here I am like an idiot. Michigan gave us Motown. Gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang.
I had a beat off.
They don't like the gas. Action replays in magnified fortune. I was a private business people. I was a private business people. Even brought a safecracker. We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. Here I am like an idiot. The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. Here I am like an idiot.
I felt really good almost after taking it.
You could say it's a back door, but I call it a smart door.
They said, oh. We have to slam it.